Most of the times we walk around with a need, so to speak, like someone's walking around bleeding, right? And someone has the gauze in their hand. Okay. And we're like, oh, come over, you bleeding? You know, we try to help the person or whatever, and we think we can kind of patch them up with enough things that we may have, things we may buy them, do for them, offer them. And before you know it, the person mistakes that for love. And then, okay, we get married, and there you go. But you're overlooking the fact that this person, or guy or female, is not necessarily healed. Right. So you're, although we think we can cover them, and I know sometimes people may say, well, how long do you wait? But it's not, I don't think it's so much about waiting as it is in, if you really love the person, and if you really see that they have a serious insecurity problem, then the thing to do is to get help. You know, however we can do it. To me, in the simplest form is, if I'm thinking that, if something in my life, if I'm thinking of something as insecure, then my first thing is, what can I find, not within that person, but within myself, to hold on to? What can I gravitate to that is secure to help me begin to grow on that? Because you can't find that in someone else. You have to find that first in yourself. Because we always say, if I could have a woman or a man to be this way, I can be a lot better. And that's not true.
So would you say that it's absolutely the wrong thing to do, to give in to someone's insecurity by like catering to them?
Yeah, feeding it. But you know,
they need to go get help on their own.
Yeah, so I remember, that's an interesting point you made, because I remember early on some time ago where I was dealing with someone, and the person had some insecurities from a previous situation, but they were kind of pretty bad, meaning to the point where it was like, you know, the trust thing was just out the window. And this was just at the gate. Nothing I did, just at the gate. Right. And so when I would notice these things, and when they would come up in like comments and sarcasms and different things like that, and I would point it out, and they would say, well, why can't you be that man and be patient to walk me through? And the patience to me was, I'm here and I'm not judging you. I'm just pointing it out. Right. But to them, they were like, well, do this and help me through. And so to me, maybe I could have been wrong at that time, but in my mind, I was telling them, I just don't want to aid and abet the bad behavior. That has nothing to do with me. Because again, if you do it, when does it stop? Right. Because you can't gauge when the person is going to be healed. Yeah. Right. So are you going to just walk around with holding on a crutch forever, or is there a point to it?
It becomes a never-ending cycle.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes a codependent relationship at this point.
Correct.
If I reward that negative behavior, then when do you actually change that behavior? Because you don't think that it's wrong, because you're always being rewarded for doing something that's not necessarily positive.
Correct.
Yeah. And as we know, most people will ride with you, as they say. They'll ride with you as long as, see, the insecurity can be quieted if you are catering to it. Right. The issue is when you choose to make your own turn in your own direction in different direction. Then now you're going to be confronted with whatever that issue is. Right. Wait a minute, you know, whatever it is, it's going to
why don't you answer your phone?
Correct.
Why don't you call and check in?
Yeah, and
respond faster to my text.
Right.
But it's so many. I mean, you can run the gamut on a lot of things that will present to you like you really are in a situation where there is a makeshift crutch holding both of you up. You know, you think it's like, if you look at the back of most relationships, there's a crutch back there. It's not really just a steady base. Okay. It's some sort of crutch holding someone's ailment up. And so, all right, so let's reset and go back to the top. All right. Intuition. Intuition, I'm just going to talk about what the meaning of intuition is. Okay. All right. Intuition is knowledge or belief obtained neither by reason nor perception. Instinctive knowledge or belief, a hunch or unjustified belief. All right, so insecurity is, okay. Lack of confidence, assurance, self-doubt, the quality or state of being insecure, instability, you know, something insecure, not sound and not bolted down, basically.
Right.
So another word I'm gonna throw out there, we may not include this in it, but I'm gonna throw another word that's kind of in the middle of these both. And it's called, people will, and especially in the spiritual community, we'll call it discernment.
Oh, yeah.
And
I thought about that too. Yeah.
so discernment is keen perception
Mm-hmm.
or judgment, which is kind of falls right in the middle of them both.
Right.
So, I guess if I had to guess, I think I would like to have the discernment. Because to me, the discernment side of it is, if you keep it in its proper perspective, it doesn't have to be judgmental, it's hands off.
Right.
But when you're saying intuition, whether it's right or wrong, you're choosing to confront that person from I know you did it wrong because I felt it in my spirit this morning. You get my drift. It's kind of like you're accusing the person whether you know it or not.
Because you don't have any evidence.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
correct.
intuition isn't always confrontational.
Yeah.
It could be
No,
something
I don't
that
think
you
it's
hold
confrontational.
internally and you just put on the back burner in your head.
You're right. But in most cases, that fire does not stay there. When it's bruised, it bruised. And then when the intuitive person often comes forward with the evidence, they've been holding it in for a minute. Now, here you go. This is what I've collected because this is what I felt, and this is what I know is correct.
So basically, your experience has been you get confronted with their intuition in terms of what they believe has transpired.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Well, when I was doing my research about
Yeah.
this topic, actually, it says the opposite. It says that those emotions actually come from insecurity
Security.
Mhm.
and
Correct.
insecurity.
There we
They
go.
say that what's the other word?
Intuition.
Intuition. They say is a slow, steady grumbling in your
Mhm.
spirit, in the
Mm.
inside, in the pit of your stomach,
Mhm.
and it's usually not something that's confrontational. It's usually
Right.
something that you just kind of
Quiet.
sit
You
and fester
and brew
over.
on it. Yeah,
and brew
correct.
over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, okay, so while we're there, since Rhonda put us in the research genre.
Here we
okay.
go. Here we go with the book. Y'all ready?
I'm not gonna go long. All right, the key to overcoming insecurity. This is an ad from Psychology Today. It's saying feelings of insecurity can come from many sources, both real and imaginary. You may feel unsure about whether other people really like you, or whether you'll get to your job, or you may just be generally insecure. Whether the basis of your insecurity is real or not, the feeling can be crippling unless you know how to handle it. A new study by Peking University provides a simple step you can take to keep insecurity from getting in the way of your happiness and your mental health. All right, Mr. Ford. So let's switch gears here and we're gonna call out some behaviors. All right, so it says, here's some symptoms of emotional insecurity. Jealousy. Jealousy is a sure shot sign of emotional insecurity. Over dependency. Now this is a key one. When people are, when they
Overdependent
hold
on
you
you.
to the fire and
Right.
everything. If you need to consult your partner for every little decision that you have to take, then it is a sign that you might be emotionally insecure. Constant anger, low self-confidence, feeling vulnerable, poor communication skills. Anyway,
Did you get called out?
So here are 8 signs that you are insecure in your relationship and what you can do about it. Fear of losing your mate, number 1. Consuming jealousy. Demanding access to electronics. You constantly check social media. This is not right. Paranoia and disbelief as to your partner's whereabouts. Wow. The need for constant reassurance. You don't like to be left alone. Wow.
Okay.
It can also result from one's environment as unpredictably or upset in daily life can cause anxiety and insecurity about ordinary routine events. People who have reoccurring insecurities may also have low self-esteem, experience body image issues, lack direction in life, and feel overlooked by others. Interesting.
Okay.
So then it says most of us feel insecure sometimes. That's in the general rule, but some of us feel insecure most of the time. The kind of childhood you had, like I said, past traumas, recent experiences, or failure or rejection, loneliness, social anxiety, negative beliefs about yourself, perfectionism, or having a critical parent or partner can all contribute to insecurity. And the last but not least, insecurity is the dumbest thing that we all feel. Every person in the world has something he or she is insecure about.
True.
Even if only slightly. Well, some of the less mentally stable may have issues with shame, guilt, and empathy, but the average individual does feel insecure about something or something or another. Insecurity is the dumbest thing that we all feel that's a repeat. Anyway, so yes. All right, so let's take it back. Let's go back to childhood. All right, Mr. Ford, give us some examples of how. Yes, we want you to cry tonight. Anyway, give us some examples.
You're not gonna make me cry.
No, give us some examples of how you think insecurity can play a role in your youth, starting from your youth.
Well, I mean, your first model or template relationship is always going to come from your parents.
Okay.
You know, that is going to be the basis for all other relationships that come after that. And it's as a parent, it's my job to make sure that I affirm and encourage my children to always let them know, first of all, that I love them, that I'm there for them. Not only that, but to let them know that they have within themselves the ability to do anything that they put their mind to. To literally give them, just a strength to be able to do whatever they put their mind to. To put no limits on them, to say to them, the sky is the limit. That's how you really secure them within themselves, to believe in themselves. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times we put so much stock and trade in things that are externally around us, but we don't really invest enough time to develop the inside of us, the internals of us. You know what I'm saying? So I think once we do that, then insecurity won't be such a common thing within us. Yeah.
What about you, Natalie?
So I don't know if I can speak from experience or from insecurity that brewed from childhood as it relates to a relationship in my life today. But I do think that when we look at insecurity as it relates to relationships, sometimes the person is carrying baggage and they come into the relationship with things that they might have experienced at the hands of someone else. And maybe they're projecting that onto you. So that's one kind of insecurity. Another kind of insecurity is actually bred by the partner. So if you're with someone that practices deception regularly, omission of fact, infidelity, disrespect, things like that, those types of things also breed insecurity, and they are as much as the fault of the person that's insecure as they are as the person that is contributing to the insecurity. So I think that as it relates to relationships, there's two different angles. You can come to a relationship with it, or your partner may be behaving in an inadequate way that contributes to you being insecure, and then you're both at fault for that.
I would say, at all costs, protect your not insecure, but in. Basically, you have to protect you. You can't blame anyone else. Because to be honest, really, that's why I always tell people to whatever you do, own your decision.
Absolutely.
And so, if a person, whatever they bring to the table, you don't like it, you don't have to deal with it.
That's true.
It's simple. You don't have to wear it. You don't have to make it become a piece of your makeup or your haircut, whatever the case is. If you don't like it, don't deal with it. I know that maybe sometimes I've heard people say that's so cold and easy, but if you don't want to be that person to constantly ridicule somebody about what you're bitter or upset or resentful about, then you got to make that tough decision. Or you're gonna be that person that's constantly, you're gonna constantly be doing that. And that's gonna make for a miserable environment for anybody.
I think that goes into a whole nother show. We talked before about people being glued together and stuck in situations out of comfort. out of not wanting to break apart their families, out of many reasons. I think that it's easy to say, well, if you don't like it, leave. But if that were the case, there would be a lot more single people, because a lot of people are coexisting in a relationship that is tainted with insecurity and a whole bunch of other stuff.
But guess what? It really is a lot of single people out here. They single in marriage and they single by
it
themselves.
It would be a lot more.
Yeah,
if everyone just broke apart because they were dealing with one thing or another, there would be a lot more.
So let me ask you this: would you rather the person break, or would you rather them cope and elope, cope and cheat?
I don't think you should deal with any form of.
They will do that. That's what they do. They may not leave you. I know people who may not leave for the just reasons of my kids are here, or I told Ron I was going to pay for her school, whatever. You have that loyalty.
Okay.
But because the relationship is shot due to insecurity or whatever that is, you start to say, well, I'm going to build my life within this life. I'm going to be here, but I'm building another life while I am here.
Okay.
Until I transition away from this. It happens.
My personal sentiment is that you shouldn't deal with anything that makes you uncomfortable or constantly irritated. I think you should have the internal strength to walk away from that. However, the sentiment I share is not something that a lot of other people share. And so that's why there are these unhealthy, unhappy relationships. But I do think that if you're unhappy or constantly irritated with your partner, you should leave that situation alone.
This is after we've tried to work it out, right? This is at the very tail end.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure. Yeah.
At this point, you will have dealt with several situations, or maybe many situations that have led you to have this feeling. We're not talking about it the first time. Maybe you're wrong at the first time.
Right.
Maybe you're wrong at the first time. Maybe you're wrong at the second time. But if there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 signs, ain't everything that you're telling the same lie.
You frustrated me. I'm getting out of here.
Right.
So let's talk about you, Ron, from the childhood perspective.
Okay, so I can remember when my son was probably about 7 years old, and I was at my mother-in-law's house, and he was running through the house, and I said, "Come here, you little peanut head little boy." Because I grew up in a family where we did the name calling. And so my mother-in-law was a Christian woman, and so she stopped me immediately, and she said, and she kissed my son all over his head, and she rubbed his head, and she said, "Your head is beautiful and perfect the way that God made it." And so when she sent him back downstairs, she said to me, "Don't ever do that." She said, "Do not put insecurities into your child because the world is going to give him enough of that." And at that, I remember that was a defining moment for me because I remember the things that my mother did to me or my family that went on within my family because, like I said, I grew up in that type of environment that made me insecure. Things names that I were called, or whether it was joking or someone got mad. I remember carrying that with me until my adulthood years.
The reality is that words have power. And I think we downplay them constantly by what we say to each other in terms of the fact that we don't necessarily value each other the way that we should. So we say anything to each other. This is even more so significant in the life of a child. Because if you have a parent that is, like you said, giving them a name out of their name, that name that's not necessarily positively reinforcing them, then that does detrimental harm to their self-image in terms of them if mommy sees me as a peanut head, then maybe I am a peanut head.
Correct.
And another
you got to speak life into your kids.
No doubt, all day.
And another thing I think we overlook is from being raised by our parents or lack thereof. I think we all get it that we think that kids are damaged by either lack of validation or traumatic experience or some kind of abuse. But the other side of it is we often give our kids a false sense of security or reality, like sometimes over spoiling them. You
shelter them,
and you have to look at it like this: it's your child, right? It's not the world's child; it's your child. So you're going to say, "My child ain't gonna go without nothing. He's gonna have everything, all that." But at some point, that child is gonna grow up. And it's going to separate from you. Now, I know women that are old and still spoil the kid. You understand? Still spoil the kid. But the point I'm making is when they go out into the world, it's like a real smack. It's a dose of truth and reality. And you often damage them because
it's a shock to the system.
Because everyone else isn't responding to them like maybe dad or mom would. Now they're damaged because they're out there on the flip side. And they never had an abusive situation at all as a child. But because of that overexposure to that spoiling side of it, you kind of messed them up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
We did not really expose them to the realities of life versus the fantasies of life. That the fantasies of life says, You know, you'll get everything that you want. You'll always have everything that you need. Nobody will ever talk about you. Everybody will always love you for who you are. That is not real.
I think they learned that kind of early on, though, just with their exposure to like institutionalized education. Like they learned that early on that you will not be loved by everyone.
Well, we hope that they learn the lesson. We hope that they learn a lesson. You know, I will say this side footnote, and we're gonna move on. I think social media has done a lot of damage in terms of how we perceive reality, and you know, we see what the Joneses have and all that kind of stuff, and it really has presented us with these images that aren't real.
Right.
They're not substantive. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
or even reality TV.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You look at certain things and you feel as though what you see, you know, you hear that thing to say, "Oh, relationship goals." Where they're a planned goal because they're on TV, right? So their goal is structured, whether it's their real life or not. But you're watching a structure on TV. But we often get, you know, you don't know how many arguments at home come after seeing what the people see on TV or Facebook because they're feeling like, well, you're not. How come I don't have my so and so bag? I don't have my Celine bag, my red ball. You know, you see somebody else have it, so you're wondering why not me.
Wow.
And so,
so is there such a thing as digital insecurity?
Oh, wow. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so for sure.
All right.
And now the digital portion, it really gets into the physical because it causes everybody to look at themselves physically to see. Because think about it, when you look on, we all can look on whether Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and we can always see that person who has tons of followers, and they can just put one picture doing like this. Ain't doing nothing to the picture. They got 1,500 likes. You're like, what does this put? All they do is put their hand on their face. Right. But later you look and there's other pictures. Like I literally see people. Like I didn't used to really be into Instagram. I really only got onto Instagram really for just promoting the show and stuff like that. But when I got on Instagram, for years I heard people talk about them Instagram thoughts or this, that, and all these things, models on Instagram.
Right.
And so I got on there and I was like, so you have people who all day long who pose and video for the camera, and some of these people, and let's just be honest, they make a living and off of just their physicality.
Right.
Maybe the woman is stacked to the
living on
maybe she's stacked to the T. And so one of the particular people, I won't say people's name, but she go around and be speaking. I'm like, what are you speaking about? She got big booty. I mean, they're going around talking, and it's really just have to do with her look. That's really her look is really what gravitates everybody. So she's going over talking to kids and all these people. You can go to Dr. Miami too. No, maybe. So you know all that kind of stuff. You're like, all right.
You know what?
So, okay, let's get back to the relation. Let's go back to the relational
Dr.
part.
Miami does a good job.
Right. So the relational portion. Right. So here's the kicker. Let's talk about some things that combat insecurity. Like I said earlier, if you have some sort of insecurity, you find yourself in an insecure scenario, you should look for the first thing about, I say yourself first, because you can't really find, you can't really depend on something strong in someone else, especially if it's outside of a covenant, and you hope that covenant stands true. You know what I'm saying?
So self-esteem, which means
you gotta find something about yourself that either you do good. I mean, I don't care how weak you get, something about you that's special, that's unique, or whatever, and pick that and kind of just build on that, whether you like it or not. And you know, I say another thing that helps is when you're in a relationship, one thing that I think we forget about, because we kind of get caught up in how attractive the person is or what they bring to the table, and we off to the races. But you don't realize that in order to be successful at kind of taming your insecurity, what that person is, you have to understand the person's origin in order to appreciate their present. You know what I'm saying? If you don't really understand where the person comes from and what's their true makeup, I don't care how ugly it is. Like somebody might say, you know, I did this, and you may be a little detested. You know, you might be like, what? But if you care about them and not being judgy, you might be like, okay, we can deal with that, and you get through it. But it helps you treat them better when you see those insecurities.
Because you have an understanding of them.
But what's happening now is we're moving about with people, and we're claiming we're kind of basing snapshots of their behavior versus someone else we saw like it. You know, maybe this guy act like this, or this woman act like this before, so this must be this kind of behavior. No, you don't really specifically know that person. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to be able to say you know that person, because to be honest, some people carry insecurity with them throughout their entire life.
And do a good job of hiding their insecurities.
Yes,
they absolutely do.
Yeah, and if you don't find some sort of security, some sort of security in the scenario, your partner will be in for a very miserable ride. Trust me, it will, because you'll find yourself living throughout that whole relationship trying to uphold someone's broken foundation. You know what I'm saying? And that you weren't aware of. So think about how sometimes somebody may say, Adam, help me move. You're moving, right? And somebody didn't mark the box fragile. But the box, you're carrying the box out, and you're like, okay, and then you throw the box down. Adam, why you drop it? You didn't mark it. Now the stuff is broke. Because you done dropped it down carelessly. You didn't handle it like you would something precious. So you drop it down and now it's broken. So what do you do?
That was actually kind of deep. Oh my God. Oh my God. What's today's date? Write it down.
Right. You know, and then there's some people that use, here's the flip side of it. Some people use insecurity as a means of abuse, manipulating what's not there.
Okay.
Like maybe you have been known as broken and damaged, but you be like, well, you know, I'm only taking my time because of this. Now I can speak to this because I've done this myself. I have been the person. Now I have definitely had my bruises. Let me see. No, I have my cuts and scars and bullet wounds. But when I became strong and over it, but no one else knew it. I was fine, but it was convenient to ride that ride. So I'll be like, yeah. They're like, what's wrong with you? You need space? Yes. 3 times a week to myself and I'll be okay.
You know
you need space to do other stuff.
Right, yeah.
It was convenient to do, so you do
space
it.
to do what?
I just need space to do what I need to do. But no,
oh God, dude.
You know, if you think about it, here's another sad fact. Too many of us make decisions. The work is over. Too many of us make decisions. I'm trying to give me the work. It's just too late. Anyway, too many of us make decisions that can affect our lives from a place of security. Like you don't know how many people are getting married, having kids, and all stuff, and you know that you jacked up, but you're doing it because you're looking to see if that other person has the grip. Has the vice grip enough to hold you up.
Okay, so let me ask a quick question here.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about both intuition and insecurity.
Okay.
And ladies, this is more for you. How do you know the difference between your insecurity and your intuition? And particularly with what Charles had just said in terms of,
I can answer that.
Okay.
I think intuition is like a gut feeling, almost like a nagging feeling in the inside, and it does not provoke you to action necessarily right away, but it is something that you kind of keep in the back of your mind as you navigate your way through the relationship. Where insecurity is usually overt and right in your face. The things that are contributing to the insecurity. And this is speaking from a point of if it's situation or issues you are going through with your partner versus if you just came into a relationship super insecure and was worried about everything.
Okay.
So I think the biggest difference to me is intuition isn't pressing, insecurity is. Intuition is just kind of like on the back burner where intuition is on the back burner where insecurity is kind of like right out front.
Okay.
In your face.
Okay.
Yeah, and I say that insecurity is an emotional feeling inside of your body. Like she said, in the pit of your stomach. Sometimes
intuition.
Intuition.
Yeah.
You can feel sick.
Okay.
Like you can feel it inside of your stomach.
Okay.
Whereas insecurity is more in the mind.
Exactly.
It's like things or thoughts that are jumbled up or just moving about quickly in your head. It could be things that you're making up, things that you, a lot of times it's things that you're making up, and you can turn those into like your
true reality.
Yeah, you can make it like some people can get so caught up into what's going on in their mind that to them is their reality, and it's a bunch of lies.
Or simply they wanna believe that.
Right, they want to believe
happening.
that. So that's what I would say it is. I would say that insecurity is in the head, and intuition is in the gut.
In the pit, yeah.
And you know what? As a woman, and there are a lot of women listeners, and probably some of them can agree, if not most, that when intuition, if you think about any relationship or dating scenario that you've been in, and you had a gut instinct or intuition about something, if you think about it, it is always right. There's probably a 0.00001% of error, but 99.99999% of the time, it is always
and not
correct.
one of us can say once something happens, that my gut didn't tell
Didn't
me
tell you
that.
beforehand.
Exactly. You knew it
Listened to
before.
my gut. My gut instinct
Exactly.
told me better,
Okay.
but you chose to ignore it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's exactly what it is. It's a choice to ignore it, but really in your gut, you know that it's not right.
Okay, so before we switch to the comments, quick question to the women in the comments and to you too. Do you consider unvoiced intuition as deception? Unvoiced.
Ooh.
You have this intuition, but you're not voicing it. Is
No.
that deceptive?
No, I don't think so.
I think if you acted on everything that was a gut instinct and intuition, you would be having deep conversations every day.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
But
All right. Okay.
But think about it. You just said, you can't contradict because you just said almost.
No,
Hold on.
Okay.
You said almost every time it's true. So if it's either are you really holding to your intuition or are you waiting for convenient times to pounce? Because if you really feeling it that strongly, like I'm gonna tell you as a man,
men
if
and
I
women
said
are
to
wired
myself,
different, Charles.
trust me, if I said to myself, I feel something, because I believe men have very intuitive things too. There's some men that are really in tune. I know I can
things,
be. I can feel stuff. And so my thing is, if I feel something that strong and to the point where I'm around the person, you know what it'll do? It'll really make me start to distance myself because I know I'm like, this is dirty, and I can tell it. And I can tell I'm like, so I'm hanging right in the cut because I'm coasting now. I'm like, yeah. And then to be honest, in my history, it has definitely been what I thought it was.
Okay.
But here's what I would say. I would say that men and women are not wired the same, and women have almost like a resilience, like a strength, both physically, we bear children, and mentally, because we carry the weight of not only our world, but the world of our mates on our shoulders as well.
Yeah.
So we are probably not as likely to pounce as a man because we are built to carry more mentally and physically in terms of how we handle situations. So I think it's quite possible for a woman to have a gut instinct and feel some type of way and linger a little bit longer than a man.
So my question would be, at what point do you give voice to your intuition? Because my thing is
I'll
this:
let Rhonda answer
if it's something that's light and inconsequential, then yeah, okay, let it pass by.
Then that's probably when we wouldn't give voice. But if it's something
That's
that is
detrimental,
affecting
yeah.
your happiness, something
Yeah.
that is weighing on your heart, something that is bringing you to a point where you're more unhappy with that situation than you are happy, that's probably a time that a woman is going to speak up and say something.
Okay.
I'm the type of person where I like to take the time out to sit back and kind of like
Exactly.
self-analyze myself.
Okay.
And I like to figure out if for
Check yourself
myself
first.
if it's insecurity
Yeah.
or intuition.
That makes
Yep.
sense.
So I'll kind
Yeah,
of keep
that's
questioning.
good.
Right.
That's good.
That's why I say it's not
Right.
deception
That's
for
good.
me when I'm not talking
You're not
about
sure of
You're
it.
feeling it out.
unsure
Yeah.
about
Feeling
my
it out.
gut.
Trying to figure it
I'm
out.
going through.
I get you.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
insecurity or is it intuition? And am I overreacting?
Yeah.
Am I
Exactly.
tripping?
Right.
Am I seeing what I'm really seeing? Yeah. So that's why I don't immediately respond to whatever gut instinct I have because I try to really figure out the difference.
That's a good measure. That's a
Okay,
good
so
measure.
before we get to these comments real quick, I'm gonna shift really fast. People want you to put a Band-Aid on their insecurities in addition to dating them. You know, you have to require them, I need you to date me, but then I gotta date you and then so I'm dating you and now I'm attending to you too.
Which is what we talked
Which
about.
is
Right.
tough. And so you're asking me to do.
Right.
So that's why I say it's a tall order to hold someone to a regard that you should first have for yourself.
Well, I would hope at least that if you're dating somebody and if you've been dating them for a period of time, an extended period of time, that you would at least open up your mouth to say, hey, this is what's on my mind in regards to our relationship.
the insecure person?
Yeah, the insecure
Okay,
person.
okay.
This is what I would say to the insecure person. And what's going on? Can we check that first? You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes a lot of times we're afraid to say what we need to say for fear of the person rejecting us. But if I care about you enough, I'll be willing to risk whatever reprisal you might have to be able to say what needs to be said so that we can really bring this thing out of the darkness into the light so that we can both deal with this.
Or that's true.
Yeah.
Or what did I have to say on here? I said the other side of it is
Can you get it together?
sorry.
Can you get it together?
basically, I was going to say, I would challenge a lot of relationships. I'm not going to touch marriages because it is already over the hills. It's what you should be there. If you're over there, you're there. Okay. But in a relational standpoint, I would say people should challenge themselves to say, is this a raw choice? I mean, is the result of our union, our being together, is just a flat out raw choosing, or is it founded off insecurity?
Okay, I really want to understand that. So can I ask you to go a little deeper? Because when you say that a relationship is founded, or let's say that I selected a male because I'm insecure, like, what does that mean? Because I don't know that I understand that.
So let's just I'm gonna take myself. All right.
Yeah, story time.
From the beginning of the show when it started, I have slowly opened up my treasure chest of exploits, right?
And we've been so excited.
Anyway, so the point I'm saying is this: if I weren't in a relationship or something, right, and there were maybe interested women listening or whatever.
Okay.
So although I may be somebody that they can date, but when they date me, you can't tell me that they're not going to come to the table with insecure reservations because they're like, he already spoke of his shark exploits. He may bite me because I've already talked about it. I told you my B side, right? I gave you my B side. Yeah. So coming to the table, I would tell a woman that she should. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I date whoever I date, I'm gonna look at the worst side of them. Because that's what I need to deal with at default level. And not the pretentious stuff. Okay. I want to see the worst of who you are because that's really who you are. Okay. The other side is just who you are when I buffet you and give you what you want. Or stir you up, so to speak. Or climax. But anyway, so the other side, but the thing is this. No, but I want to know who you are at the ugly side. Because that's really who you, because that's all said and done, all the other stuff is done. Who is this person in the door with me? Period. And so this is when I say I feel as though if I weren't in a relationship that I could be at a disadvantage because coming in the door, oh yeah, you probably did because I know your type. I've spoken about my type. So now as I know your type, regardless of if I'm a change-free person or not, I still have that stain that I have to contend with.
But that's answer Natalie's question.
No,
I was giving an example of how it happened.
That's I can appreciate your example, but that's not a super relevant example because most people are not on air and don't have a public platform.
Right, so you wouldn't know the person that you're dealing with until you
go through the proper time.
Okay, but guess what? How many times have you heard women that maybe they on the club scene, and guess what? Most women, if they're really interested in a guy, they've already had a presentation of his personality beforehand. Oh, I seen dude. I always see him out. Oh, he a ladies man, but he is cute.
But what if you're just a regular grocery store shopper, or you go to the gym, or you're running to the bank? Like,
okay, you may not know that. Point. Yeah, you may not know.
You're always pre-exposed to someone's personality.
But but let's go at the base level. Let's take it all the way down.
Okay.
At the base level, people still will approach the situation like if a guy comes to the table, let's just say old women, and they are a good suitor on paper or what you are presented with right there on the spot. You at that time, you're like, okay, he's so. He's not and what's the first thing your girl was? Girl, you might go out and see what he's about. He might be a nice person. Yeah, he okay with it. Here comes insecurity. But I ain't gonna put myself out there like that. That's insecurity because now
if you just met somebody, I would hope that you wouldn't just put yourself.
No, I don't mean put your neck on the chopping block. What I'm saying is you're speaking,
guarded position.
Yes, you're coming out the gate guarded up front.
All right. But not everyone does that though.
A lot of people do.
I think I don't know that I agree. I don't think that most people date from coming out the gate super guarded. I think you have people that are really, really guarded, and then you have people that are cautiously optimistic, and there's a difference.
I mean, you should be careful.
Then why even date?
Yeah.
Then why even date?
Because people are selfish and no one wants to be alone. So they're going to drag you in their misery hole whether you like it or not. Wow. They don't want to be alone.
But then that's going into, then it doesn't really matter how insecure they are because you're carrying a chunk of insecurity yourself because you're worried about dating or giving your heart or what they potentially might do to you. I think that's a jaded scenario to begin with.
Totally jaded.
It is.
That's totally jaded, Mr. Dixon.
Whatever. I'm just giving you the truth. This is what happens.
That's totally
I don't like
jaded.
To deal in the abyss. I like to deal with what's really happening.
Mr. Jaded.
Yeah. But anyway, whatever. Mr. I don't have any examples. Liar. Anyway, so David King says it all comes down to trust. True, very true. He says if you don't trust someone, you should leave, man or woman. Good stuff.
Yeah.
That's
real.
Okay, Janice. Here's Janice. Just simply ask the question to your partner. Katonia says, "Yep, intuition has always been right." Let's see. Kimberly Diva says, Insecurity pushes you to check phones, wallets, spy, pry, drive by his home, and break into things. She ain't never lied. It is never satisfied. Intuition drives you to ask the question and then be satisfied with an answer.
Yeah.
One can be quenched. The other is sensational.
Wow.
Yeah, that
was good, Kimberly. That's real stuff. You get a point for that one.
And Kimberly says, wait a minute. Yeah, Kimberly says, personally, if I find myself feeling insecure in a relationship, my remedy is to walk away. There is nothing the other person can do to fix my insecurity. Wow. That's A+.
Wow.
Ava says, if somebody do my hair first. No. Ava says, hi Ava. No, Ava says, somebody would have to be lost, a lost soul to compare their lives to a reality star, but they do. It's sad, but they look at people on there and they look at it as being obtainable, and the only thing keeping them from obtaining that is finding that provider to do that, to provide that lifestyle. If I can meet that guy, that woman who lives like this, I can live in that world.
So that's just being superficial, basically.
But you'd be surprised. People travel the country looking for it. Go check wherever the NBA All-Star game is, the Super Bowl, anything where money is. That's where you see it. Any event. That's where you're going to see it.
The most insecure people in the world.
Right. Let's see. Janice says, I think spoiling a child is difficult for black women. I think spoiling a child is difficult for black children. Shoot, I know a lot of spoiled black children.
I'm not really sure about that one.
April says, I always tell my kids that no one on earth is going to think they are as special as I do. That's good.
Yeah.
I want them to know they aren't the center of the universe. Special to mommy, not as special to everyone else, really. Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Kimberly Harris says, insecurity is internal distrust within yourself, regardless if brought on from our external forces. Intuition is internal from learned behavior of outside forces that wake us up when things are going on around us, especially with those we love to behave in a different way. Wow. Tony says, Tanil says, looking to protect all the time could lead to a person being emotionally unavailable. There is a healthy balance.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
very true.
It's about balance.
Very true.
Anyway, Laverne
said... Did you just breathe? Did you just sigh on that?
Laverne says...
You want to elaborate?
Laverne says, I'll just keep it moving. TBH. Life is too short to deal with foolery and insecurity. Anyway, while that does happen, Janice says... Zandra Hughes says, whoa, single in marriage. Yeah, people are single in marriage. Yeah. They're in marriage and making their own life. And, people now, you have some people nowadays who, we're in the quick leap era where people will jump and get out of Dodge quick. They'll get married Monday and be divorced the following. They'll get annulled 2 weeks later. But then you have those people who are more selfish. And they're saying, well, this marriage works for me. My bills are getting paid. I got a nice place to live. I don't want to go out here and do this on myself. Wow. But even though he get on my nerves, I'm not turned on by him. I'm going to live here, but I'm going to do me. Or vice versa. So, that's what happens.
Wow.
It's unfortunate. I wanted to add a quick point. I can add a quick story. But how much time?
Story time.
Really fast. Yeah. I'm not going to be. Oh, wait a minute. Kenny, my boy Kenny. Kenny says, they definitely think like that. Yeah, I'm telling you, Kenny knows we from. That's the DMV speaking right now. Okay, Maria says. Maria says, thank you, Natalie. I think I fell into the cautious category.
They disappearing.
Ava says it's a vicious cycle. David says date and counsel.
Janice.
What did Janice say, man?
She said, Adam humming past my comment of black children being born as men. Another show topic.
Okay, cool. No, but you
I
know,
don't have it anymore.
I can say this really quickly. I remember when I was young, right? When I was coming up, and my parents threw it in the butt, go, you know, by. So the guy Gregory Elliott, we all grew up together, right? So his mother and my mother were very close, and they would, and so when they were both married, they would hang out. They were married, but they would still hang out and go to little bars and stuff like that. My mother, this is pre-church era, so she would go do her, right? So here's the funny part. My dad, this is the first insecure thing I know. I said, oh, I see how he was moving back then. So my dad got my mom and was like, you know, I've been looking around at these churches, and I think we should go somewhere and get into the church and everything. Here's the crazy part about it. Check this out. So he convinces my mom, because you know most women gonna go to church if the man says let's go to church. If a man says you're gonna go to church, go. So he says let's go to church. He takes my mom to church. My mom falls in love with church. Guess what my dad did? You like the church? And he stopped going.
Right. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to get you in the church.
My mom got in the church. She got in the church and really got into it. Right. And I mean, she took the bull by the horns and flew. Right. And my dad sat back and said, "Guess my job here is done. She ain't going out on the street no more." And he just started chilling at home. Right. Now, even though I never saw my dad stay out of the house. Like I've never seen him spend that out of the house. I've never known of him like cheating or anything like that. He was pretty charming, but I don't know what he was doing. But anyway, so to make a long story short, I've never seen him do that. I've never seen my dad do any of that. So the point I would say is this.
I wonder where it came from.
I often say, I know my dad, if he had to be regretful, he had a woman that he took somewhere, so it's proof that she actually followed him, which was most men want to do. Okay. She actually followed him. She received what he was offering, and she walked it out. Okay. And so I said, why didn't he just take advantage of that? Because he spent most of his life. My mom didn't. She lived out church. She didn't relentlessly. She didn't turn around because he was complaining. Right. And you know, you have people at church that say you need to go home, be with your husband sometime, and you ain't married to the church. You gotta go. You know, I get that. It's a true statement. Okay. But my mom was so focused. That's why I get that from her. Yeah. My mom would do a million things, and she was focused. So I got that from her. Yeah. So she would do that. Okay. But then my dad would be home fussing. You come on back home. He was always fussing about her being at church.
Well, he didn't want to put her in the church. Correct.
So my point was, I felt like there was a big gap in their relationship that was missed because I feel like he didn't join where he could have.
Okay, so it sounds like the only reason why he put her in the church was because he might have had some insecurity with her being out there. Correct. But once he got her in there, he couldn't get her back out.
But I say that to say I can take a piece of that because I remember early on in certain relationships where I definitely experienced that myself. Wow. Where I may have been with somebody who I may have felt like I couldn't handle them in their raw elements. Okay. Maybe they was a little too wild, or I was attracted to them, but I was like, that person ain't gonna slow down. Right. How can I trick them into slowing down? Right. You think about all these things. Why you gotta trick them? No, I'm just saying, but that's just real stuff. You think about all kind of ways that you can get a person to be in a controllable grip to a degree. You want to be? I'm just being honest.
I know you're being honest, but that is not. You don't want that type of relationship.
I'll tell you what happened in life.
I understand what you're saying.
It's not an ideal.
It's not an ideal situation.
Would you guys say that men do that more than women, or women do it more than men?
Ooh,
I feel like that's something that a man.
That sounds like a topic.
I feel like that is strongly something
that's male behavior.
Men like to hibernate.
Now, I can definitely speak on this and say I have had the opposite. I have had a lot of controllers.
Really?
Or attempt to control.
Attempt to control you.
Yes. A lot of people will content to steer your path for their liking because they feel like their path is the best path.
Men try to dictate how we dress. Men try to dictate where we go, who we hang with.
Right. I would like the woman she should have her own swag. I don't want to tell them about dress.
Men do it more.
Men definitely do that more.
I think men do it more.
Okay. I don't necessarily subscribe to that philosophy. I don't believe in that.
You're a guy.
Well, no, I'm a guy, but what I'm saying is
I'm saying you gonna wear it out tonight?
No, I've never done that. I've never done that.
9 times out of 10, it's not an issue.
I've never done that. I'm talking about if you look like that going out the door, why don't you just stay home for a minute?
Yeah, Shaitan says men do it more than women.
Wow.
Agreed.
Interesting.
Well, Shaitan, how you be dressing? No, I'm just playing. I'm just joking, Shaitan. All right. No, but really, I mean, it does happen. Kenny said they definitely think like that. Yeah, we said that. Okay. But yeah, I mean, this is something that is common. This is a thing that, and like I said, I saw that piece of my dad, and I saw that separation. But I will say this other part, and this lends into how I think I act in relationships.
Okay.
This one part.
All right.
So my father, although my dad was there, and although my mom was there, she did her thing, he did his chill thing, his music at home, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I noticed when they were both at home, I used to watch them when I was young, when they were both in the house together, rarely did I see my dad do physical affection.
Really?
Rarely. Like he would be like, yeah, come on. He might make jokes and he'll say maybe a little something that's like endearing joke or something.
Yeah.
But rarely did I see him
physical contact.
actually be like, touch her or say, come on in here. Rarely did I see him do that. It was always kind of like, it was mechanical. My mom came home from church. She cooked. She did her stuff. She went upstairs. She gave me. My dad was so keenly. I remember my mother would make food and she would put that little old school net over top of the tray. It was like a net over top of the tray.
Yeah.
Take it to your dad. I'd be like, why you can't eat with us? We had to go upstairs to his room. He'd be like, thank you $1 for my food. I'm like, but he'd be upstairs eating myself. But anyway.
Did he give you a blessing on the way out?
Right, so you have that part. And I would be like, wow. And so I take certain things from both of them. I could clearly see, but the point I was making about the affection side is sometimes I notice I have to catch myself when I'm relating in my relationship. A person will come see me, and I see other people may see their person and they greet them. They'll kiss them or greet them, and I'll be like, "Hey," to close the door. All right, and I'm moving
doing the black man handshake with him,
and I move about like nothing is happening.
Wow,
but I have to catch myself and be like, I didn't greet them. But that's something I have to work on. I work on. I'm like, okay, I gotta do this, that, because sometimes you can lose that.
Well, you get a point for being aware of your behavior,
right?
And you might get another point for actually working on the thing that you know that you need to work on. Because all of us have stuff that we have tics and personality flaws and behavioral issues that we all need to kind of like work out until we get it straight.
Well, what is one of yours?
Being a goody two-shoe, obviously.
Right.
Being a goody two-shoe. Whatever. Right.
He said, you're supposed to do some fake cry or something. But anybody have some more comments? Let's see.
Oh Jesus.
Oh, Laverne says, "Get it together, John." Well, I'm trying.
Y'all pray for him. Y'all pray for him now.
I'm trying. I'm trying. But I would say to everybody, let's quick. Time is going down. So Adam, let's start with you. Give us some last parting words.
Only thing
sermons, just words.
Well, no, the only thing I would say is just to remember that insecurity is insecure. It's in you. It's not always predicated upon your externals. It always has to do with your internals. If you get the in you right, everything else will be good to go.
Okay. All right, Natalie.
I'll leave off on the note of intuition. Ladies, trust your gut instincts. It's very, very rarely wrong.
Just make sure insecurity isn't attached to it.
This is my closing argument. You'll get your dissertation in a moment. He'll get his dissertation in a moment, and it will take up the rest of the time. Trust me.
Go ahead, Rhonda.
Take value in your own stock.
Yes. Yes. All right. Yes.
And I would say, just as you do before you go to an interview, you prepare yourself. So I would say before you go into insecure, prepare yourself first and try at all costs to avoid that trait. Try to look within yourself and try to look and, like I said, grab a hold of whatever you can around you. Just think of you in an elevator shaft, and if somebody drops you, what are you going to do? You're looking for rails on the wall, anything you can to gain your footing. That's how you got to look at insecurity.
I have one last comment. I think that, and this is important because we all kind of agreed on that. Okay. I think that as you evaluate insecurity versus intuition, you also have to be aware of who you are presenting to that situation. So if you are operating or loving from a very guarded place, you are contributing to the jadedness, if that's a word, of the relationship. So I think you just have to be aware of who you are as well.
I have one more thing to say too.
It was our show, Rhonda.
Come on. Heed the early warning signs of an insecure person and run.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or your intuition is going to tell you about that.
Not gonna.
But here's the difference, though. Now, I don't want to drag us into something else. But there's the insecure, and then there's the flat out damaged. So when an accident occurs, you have had a wreck.
Wow.
So this person is on the side bleeding.
Yeah.
But the insecure person has learned how to patch themselves up and walk through life.
Okay.
So you got to be able to separate the two, because some people are just flat out damaged, and it don't
Right.
matter what you present to them, they're gonna cut. So
is it an
learn to
injury or insecurity?
Correct. All right.
That could be another
That's
show,
why
Adam.
preaching.
Great title, Adam.
Anyway.
Don't hate.
This is Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, and thank you guys for hanging in another week. Shout out to Star Radio in New York. They are really pumping us, so we get some good feedback.
What's up, New York?
I also saw shout out to Tabernacle Radio. I see he tuned in. Yeah, Will Colquitt from Tabernacle Radio. Chatted with him earlier in the week. We're gonna do some interesting things on the gospel side. But anyway, we pray that everybody have a blessed week, and I will be adding some. I'm going to be putting up some help facts, some help links for someone that may be struggling with insecurity.
That's good.
And
That's good.
overcoming that, because that's not a happy place to be for anyone.
Yeah.
I have been there, and I don't like it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I said been. But anyway,
If
okay.
you're
Anyway.
insecure, don't
Okay.
try to date
We're
you.
about to be off the air.
Yeah, because it's not going to be good. But anyway, all right. Okay. So,
Implosion.
and definitely don't date Adam. No,
He will be good for an insecure person.
Oh, have mercy.
he gonna get him false.
He's very
security.
nurturing.
He gonna get him
Come
a
on.
false sense of security. That's what he-
Gang the young brother
Right.
window.
Everything's okay.
All right.
All right, so that's it. Good show. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
we did.
Yeah, that was good.
I think we got.
I keep getting thrown off looking at that
Okay, we
clock.
got off topic a lot tonight, though.
Yeah, that's why I kept trying to get back. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna really have to really structure this out more.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't do bad, but I'm definitely gonna structure it out.
Yeah, we did good. I think we did good. We can always make it better. What happened? What happened now?
Stop.